Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for taking a rendezvous with us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. First, our major stories. The United Nations raises concerns about the deteriorating situation in the conflict-hit northwest and southwest regions of the country. According to them, more than 500,000 people are without shelter, with close to 32 schools closed as a result of the ongoing conflict in Anglophone Cameroon. And away from that, there was tension today at the Nous, détenons market in Douala after some traders took to the streets to protest against a planned demolition exercise expected to take place anytime soon. The market master is accusing the traders of having built stores on the drainage patterns, a situation that has caused many of them to suffer during the rainy season because of blocked gutters. And away from that, we equally take you to the far north region of Cameroon, precisely in Marua, where civil chardons based in that part of the country are decrying irregularities noticed in yesterday's presidential elections. Dozens of security elements were deployed in the capital, Jamena, amid rising tension as polls closed and accounting results. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details. We begin this edition of the news right here in the city of Douala as traders of the Nous, détenons market in Douala are protesting over plans to demolish their shops via the market master. According to them, the decision of the market master is as a result of selfish interest. However, the market master attributes the demolition exercise on the fact that stores were built on drainage patterns. We have details with Malaklari.
Angry traders at the détenons market in the Douala 2 municipality are accusing the market master for planning to demolish their shops. This is following a hygiene and sanitation project put in place by the mayor, which according to traders was poorly implemented, and this caused flooding in the market.
Le vrai problème ici c'est au niveau de la rigole qu'il y a la poubelle là. Parce qu'on a remblé avec la terre, on a fermé, l'eau n'arrive plus à circuler. Moi, j'ai trouvé comme solution qu'il fallait plutôt qu'on dégage la terre qui est là, ouvrir le passage là pour que l'eau passe. Au lieu de casser, nous sommes que des simples débrouillards.
Sur le marché qu'on a conçu, ça fait même pas encore 1 an. Le comptoir, c'était 300 000. Par personne, nous on a acheté. On a investi tout notre argent, payé nos matériels. Aujourd'hui, on vient du camp de casser. Le caterpillar est arrivé. Il a démonté. Nous tous on était là, on a tremblé. J'ai eu l'AVC. Moi depuis le matin. Regardez nos comptoirs emballés.
Faced with this situation, the president of the Traders Association blames the market master for not collaborating with the businessmen, thus calls for his resignation.
Il prend des décisions unilatéralement tout seul, sans contester personne. Il y a un comité de gestion dans la machine ou des dos qui n'existe plus. Depuis 2 ans qu'il est là, il a dissous le comité de gestion. Nous avons interpellé toutes les autorités de la ville de Douala sur ceux qui continuent à rester aux machines ou des dos. Nous ne savons pas pourquoi ils continuent à rester aux machines de dos. Ils veulent comme ça tout ça pour revendre. Je lui ai dit non, ça ne peut pas se faire.
The market master on his part says he respected the decision of the mayor to ensure the traders are in good condition, and adds that the area planned to be demolished are without shops.
De cette partie que l'entreprise voulait travailler ce matin, mais malheureusement il a dépensé beaucoup d'argent, il est venu avec l'argent pour le dire si on ne fait pas, si c'est la force, donc il va mettre son argent pour détruire peut-être cette partie. Et voilà pourquoi certains commerçants se sont livrés pour empêcher.
The traders thus call on the government to address the issue.
Malaklari reporting there. Inhabitants of the north and far north regions of Cameroon say, unlike other years, they are now confronted with extreme weather conditions, a situation that has caused the death of many, with others being currently hospitalized. The inhabitants are blaming the situation as a consequence of deforestation. AC Lucy Liengu tells us more.
For the past months, countries in the Sahel and West Africa have been experiencing extreme heat above 43 degrees Celsius. This is the case of Cameroon, precisely in the north and far north regions, where many people die on a daily basis due to the harsh climatic condition.
Beaucoup de décès à cause de cette chaleur. Nos enfants n'arrivent même plus à aller à l'école. C'est la chaleur qui les menace.
Aged persons, pregnant women and patients suffering from diabetes and high blood pressure are more exposed to the effects of the heat.
On va te dire quelqu'un ne respire plus, la personne étouffe. Tout ça, c'est à cause de la chaleur.
From morning till night, men, women and children sit on the foot of trees and open air just to feel fresh, but it seems to be a far-fetched solution.
Chaleur de sécheresse et de chaleur intense dans notre environnement.
Hamadou, an inhabitant of Mara, says these are the effects of deforestation. Therefore, it is important for the government to encourage the planting of trees and vegetables. Each person should cultivate the habit of planting a tree or trees in his or her compound.
Dans les champs.
Meantime, the inhabitants of the north and far north regions are adapting ways to manage the high temperature, but they are calling on the government to come to their rescue.
Now we talk something else. The United Nations says women and girls in Cameroon are at high risk of gender-based violence, while men and boys are more exposed to arbitrary arrest and detention, death, injury, and of all forms. In a glimpse report on the humanitarian situation in Cameroon, the Office of the Humanitarian Coordination of the United Nations in Cameroon, OCHA, says hostilities continue in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, with over 500,000 people lacking basic shelter, contrary to government's narrative in Cameroon. OCHA says over 36% of schools are not operational in these regions. Fomi Armstrong Sanda reports.
The Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in the report says some 3.4 million people in Cameroon are suffering from the effects of conflict and violence, climate shocks and disease outbreaks. In figures, the report says there are nearly 1 million internally displaced persons and 500,000 returnees in Cameroon, even when the country is hosting about 500,000 refugees and asylum seekers. The prolonged nature of the Lake Chad Basin conflict, the Northwest and Southwest crisis, and the impact of the Central African Republic refugee crisis are affecting affected populations' well-being and living conditions. At least 2.5 million people are facing acute food insecurity. According to the report, the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon remain characterized by human rights violations and abuses, short-term displacement, as well as pendular movement because of violence, fear of attacks, and hostilities between parties. Almost 500,000 people are lacking adequate shelter. In educational facilities, it says staff and school children continue to be targeted by non-state armed groups, and 35% of schools are not functional. There is continuous destruction of houses and farms, as well as looting of properties, which limits access of affected people to adequate housing and food. Protection, food security, access to education and drinking water are the most acute needs in these regions, according to OCHA. In the Far North region, the number of IDPs has increased by 20% in 1 year, reaching 454,000 people. Only 40% of the population has access to safe drinking water, and more than 600,000 people lack adequate shelter. Hundreds of thousands of children are exposed to critical protection risks, including family separation and school dropout, among others.
Amon Avenir, a civil society organization, has pleaded with the Cameroonian government and security officials to protect journalists and provide them with all the information required during the elections period for authentic information to be disseminated to the population. Amon Avenir stated during a forum in Douala, grouping journalists from different media organizations that will enable citizens to get accurate information and make them informed with right situations. We have details with Innocent Aze.
Elections to hold in 2025, the civil society organization Egmont Avenue assembled journalists from different media organs for a forum in Douala to discuss on effective fact-gathering and reporting on election issues in a delicate environment. Election period is usually and essentially delicate because the citizens need to consume good information. It is a moment when politicians and political actors need space to freely express themselves and market their political ideas. Philippe Nanga of Egmont Avenue knows that it is a period when journalists are denied access to information, threatened and persecuted for their reporting. Journalists are mostly in difficulties like other actors working on the aspects of democracy. Pre-electoral violence are more and more visible from threats, intimidation, arrest, torture and others. The government has been urged to uphold the important role of the press in any society and protect the press, especially during the elections period. An electorate's choice will be determined by the journalist's ability to gather facts and disseminate right information to the citizens so that they vote the right candidate.
Mais plutôt en fonction de la qualité de l'offre politique qui a été mise à sa disposition par la presse.
Egmont Avenue also implores authorities to protect journalists and provide them with the right and required information to disseminate to Cameroonians for awareness and to make informed choices.
And away from news connected to the upcoming 2025 elections, we now talk education. The head of the First School Living Certificate Examination Center of Government Bilingual Primary School Banga is requesting that the Minister of Basic Education should create another exam center in nearby areas in order to decongest Government Bilingual Primary School Banga, which is already tight. Mrs. Fomishi Regina made a call as the practical phase of the First School Living Certificate examinations began today, forcing several pupils to cover very long distances to sit in for these exams. Asthma was there and now tells us about the situation faced by these pupils.
Of the government bilingual primary school Banga, Mongo division are pupils involved in the practical phase of the First School Living Certificate examinations. The pupils who came from different villages around Banga subdivision came to show their know-how in different sectors of activities which has been added to the examination. The challenges are many.
Some of the children coming all the way from Gombe, it's always difficult for them to carry their materials to come for the practicals. Due to transport difficulties, they arrive late at the examination center. The sum of the difficulty, the center is too large. Imagine 612 candidates in one center, it is too large.
Owing to the risk involved in some pupils displacing themselves, the head of the center sends this message to the Ministry of Basic Education.
The government has to see into it that the center be sleek. And why not create a center at Kombe? Because Kombe has as many schools. A center can also be created in Kombe to avoid this risk of transportation of children from Kombe to Banga.
The parents of these pupils have also been blamed for their laissez-faire attitude towards their kids, as most came for the practicals without their materials.
Some of the parents are too negligent. They take everything for granted. Some of the children this morning, when we saw some of them came as if they were not even coming for official exams. They should not only abandon the children to the teachers or to the invigilators. They have to see into it that all what the children are coming to do, they have to support them.
The practical phase of the First School Living Certificate involved disciplines like cookery, agriculture, drawing and hairdressing, amongst others. The government bilingual primary school in Banga registered 612 candidates, 309 boys and 303 girls, and all were present in the course of the practical exams.
And now we talk health. Pulmonologists have urged people who experience shortness of breath, especially at night, to go for consultation so their lungs can be checked. This is because they might probably be suffering from asthma, which is one of the major causes of sudden deaths in Cameroon. This call comes as Cameroon joins other countries to observe World Asthma Day today. Anabila tells us more about the disease, which can, however, be treated if diagnosed early enough. Her report.
Asthma is one of the most common non-communicable diseases that affects about 300 million people across the world and is responsible for over 400,000 deaths worldwide. Asthma is a chronic lung disease affecting people of all ages.
Chez les patients atteints d'asthme, cette inflammation va entraîner des crises respiratoires, des moments où le malade n'arrive pas à respirer parce que les bronches sont bouchées, sont fermées.
According to Dr. Bruno Tingang, a pneumologist, asthma is caused by the inflammation and muscle tightening around airways, which makes it harder for a patient to breathe in and out. Symptoms can include coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, and chest tightening. These symptoms, according to doctors, can be mild or severe, and patients are born asthmatic. The disease is hereditary.
On est asthmatique. Si on a des asthmatiques dans sa famille, ça peut sauter des générations. C'est pas tout le monde qui est asthmatique dans une famille. On peut avoir une personne et puis 2-3 générations une autre personne, ainsi de suite.
Though asthma can be very much fatal, it can also be managed with the right treatment if diagnosis is done early enough.
Beaucoup d'asthmatiques ne savent pas qu'ils sont asthmatiques. Énormément d'asthmatiques. Si vous avez une respiration qui de temps en temps siffle, notamment la nuit, ou une toux chronique la nuit.
The theme for this year's World Asthma Day is Asthma, Education and Powers. And going by the theme, pneumologists call on anyone who experiences shortness of breath, especially at night, to consult as fast as possible so treatments can commence and a life protected and saved.
Meantime, Chadians based in Marwa in the far north region of Cameroon are decrying irregularities noticed in yesterday's presidential elections. Over in Chad, dozens of security elements were deployed in the capital Jamena amidst rising tension as polls closed and counting began. Sedi Chakutio has the details.
As Chadians elect their new president all around the world, in Cameroon, out of the 8,000 students at the University of Marwa in the Far North region, about 1,000 students could fulfill their civic duty. During the voting process in Marwa, the ballot box went missing, thus blocking the votes. Since yesterday, we have accepted to vote. We also accepted to spend the night here. But to our greatest surprise, we could not find the ballot boxes. It's like we were duped by some authorities. A situation which the students really did not appreciate, though Elecam provided ballot boxes for the smooth running of the election. We were to start with the vote counting since 5 p.m. but then the head of the polling station went away with the result slip. Since then we stayed quiet and calm, but till now he is not yet here, so we took his sister and we hope he will come and continue with the counting. Alerted of the situation, the divisional officer, accompanied by the forces of law and order, went to the scene to maintain peace. After these elections, you will remain with one thing. You are all Chadians. Here is Cameroon. You are not at the Chad embassy, so please be calm. We Cameroonians have our own issues to handle. Don't come adding yours. In Chad, voting went on hitch-free. The transitional President Mahamat Idriss Déby and Prime Minister Sassès Masra are the favorites in this election, supposed to put to an end the transitional government that has controlled Chad since 2021.
Away from our foreign page, we now talk sports. The World Football Governing Body, FIFA, has advised the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, to revise some agreements they signed with the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education in order to complete powers to appoint the technical staff of the senior men's national football team. These declarations were contained in a reply sent to the Interim Secretary General of FECAFOOT, Blaise Junang, who had sent a complaint to FIFA about the appointment of Mark Brice as the head coach of the Indomitable Lions. Smajikan Gabriel read through the reply sent to FECAFOOT and put together the following report for the 6 p.m. primetime newscast.
The head coach of the senior men's national football team, the Indomitable Lions, Mark Breeze, and his colleagues have been working behind closed doors since his appointment. The tussle between the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, and the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education on who is eligible to appoint a trainer for the Indomitable Lions is not finally over, as till date, FECAFOOT doesn't recognize Mark Breeze. It is for this reason that FECAFOOT wrote to the organ in charge of world football, FIFA, about the ongoing crisis. FIFA's head of office in charge of member countries, Kenny Jean-Marie, said,
"Based on the above, we consider that the principles mentioned in Article 13 must be scrupulously respected throughout the selections and appointment process by the signatories of the said convention." Even though FIFA didn't place any sanctions on the interference of government in football matters in Cameroon, here is what they believe. Furthermore, we are also of the opinion that decisions concerning the recruitment of members of management structures must remain among the rights and skills reserved solely to the Executive Committee of FECAFOOT. Kenny Jean-Marie further advised that Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, should sit on a table with the Minister of Sports and Physical Education to revise the convention that was signed between the two parties. Finally, we believe that the 2015 agreement with the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education must be revised as soon as possible in order to clarify the rights and skills of each of the stakeholders. It was on March 15, 2015 that the then caretaker of FECAFOOT, late Professor Joseph Owona, and sports boss Adum Garwa signed the convention which gave the Minister of Sports and Physical Education the power to appoint a technical staff.
That's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, I'll be receiving Kejang Henry. He is the National Communications Secretary for the Social Democratic Front SDF party. Good evening. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight. Youths of Biwong Bulu subdivision in the south region of Cameroon hindered the SDF National Chairman's delegation from having access into their villages. Tell us more about what actually happened on Sunday.
Well, what happened is that some youths in Biwong actually blocked the way to the chairman when he was to visit, the area. It is not just a safari trip. He's just in continuation with the nationwide tour that he embarked in the Far North region on the 7th of April, and he's concluding in the South region. So a group of youths, seemingly manipulated or misguided, actually blocked the way to for the chairman to get access to hold his talks with the people, because this particular visit is just like a fact-finding mission, because he was empowered by the National Executive Committee after the elective general convention, or the elective convention that took place on the 27th and 28th of October, to go for a nationwide tour. And so that is just what he's been doing, and he's, to the best of my knowledge, and you cannot refuse that, he's the only political leader who is on the ground, on the field, and gathering information on the plight of Cameroonian people. So these youths blocked access and started chanting. But you understand that somebody who is having a very cool temperament, he actually addressed the people who came to welcome him at that particular point where he was blocked. But then it did not deter him from continuing with, the Meet the People tour, which will carry him right down to Kiosi.
Henry Kejang, from what you talked about, you have mentioned misguided, manipulated. Now, what is your understanding of what happened?
Well, what happened, I want to think it is a manipulation, and this is what I would consider as a political sacrilege, because we are living in an era where such a thing is unheard of. We are living in a period where even during the period of the colonial era, we could not find such a thing. And by the prescriptions of our constitution, the fundamental laws of this country, you understand that each and every Cameroonian has to feel comfortable to stay, to live, to move around the country. So what happened is, I want to believe, were manipulations from a group of elites. And these elites already feel threatened because from every indication, what he is doing is already sending seismic repercussions across the political board on the side of maybe the ruling party and on the side of the ruling elites who are not very much comfortable with what he has made or with what he's doing. So my understanding is that there are some people who have misled these youths, and by the time the youths will get to understand the real problems that they are facing, I think they will open the doors as usual to him.
Henry Kejang, we are quite aware that the South is the region of origin of President Pobia and also the political stronghold of the CPDM party. In this perspective, do you think what happened is just an issue of demonstration of political conviction, political strength, the young people's sense of belonging to the CPDM, tribalism, or let's say xenophobia?
I must say this, first of all, that the CPDM has no stronghold. There is nothing like the CPDM having a stronghold, because all along, what the CPDM has been doing is to manipulate elections, win elections, in fact, not winning, stealing elections, and then proclaiming itself as the victor. So there is no stronghold of the CPDM anyway. Now, a conviction of those young people, political conviction, I want to think that no, those young people don't know what they were doing. They are not aware of what they were doing. Now, if you look at it critically between the lines, you will understand that those who already feel threatened about the strength of the Social Democratic Front are the one frustrating such a move or manipulating the youth to carry on. I don't think CPDM has any stronghold in the country anyway.
Now, the former SDF championship or chairmanship aspirant, Shewa David, backtracks from new party name, Social Democratic Face Front, SDFF, to Democratic Liberation Party after being accused of wanting to create confusion with the SDF. Do you think he wanted to do that?
You see, Emma, because of respect I have for you, I will just say this. The issue of the creation of a political party is not, in fact, it is not discussed within the circles of the Social Democratic Front. We don't discuss that. But we know that each and every individual has a right to create a political party. If you create your political party, it is your business. We don't discuss the issues of other people's businesses. It is not our concern. We can meet and talk with other shades of opinion, with other political divide for the interest of the nation. But we don't talk about people who have created a party, if at all they do so. We know that, and you know very well that many people have, many political parties or political leaders have created their parties and they were offshoots from the Social Democratic Front. You see, the Social Democratic Front is an organization that is hinged on the strength of its fundamental laws and not on the strength of an individual. That is why it is difficult to break the Social Democratic Front when you want to leave, because it is an institution, it is an organization that has strong fundamental laws, and no one is above the law in the SDF. The SDF, I think, is the party with a lot of freedom of expression, a lot of freedom, a lot of democracy. And I'll probably give you this anecdote. The former chairman, the late chairman, may so rest in peace and continues to rest in peace, said in one of our meetings that what is killing us in this party is a lot of democracy, because you can talk as you want, you feel free, even though talking is regulated. But sometimes some people talk and go, across the board. So you understand that we don't discuss people. Each and everybody has a right to his or her opinion. You can create a political party. The laws are clear for you to create them. But then the issue of someone breaking out to create a political party is not being discussed within the circles of the Social Democratic Front.
Now, the same Shewa David dismissed allegations that is being manipulated by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Tanganji, to create a rival party of the SDF. Do you read manipulation in the creation of the DLP?
No political party threatens the Social Democratic Front. No political party threatens the Social Democratic Front. The Social Democratic Front threatens other political parties in this country, and you know that very well. So the SDF is never afraid of any political party. By the way, the SDF remains the strongest in this country.
Kejang Henry, National Communication Secretary of the Social Democratic Front Party. Thank you so much for your keen attention. That's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Have a wonderful evening. Up next is the program Equinoxe Soir, presented by Serge Alain Otto.